Oh, there it is. It's recording again.
Okay. So I was going to say the goal of the opening here is to get us into those small group discussions as painlessly as possible. Last year was our first fully virtual annual meeting, and I look forward to putting that behind us. They really are not optimal. I mean, the face-to-face annual meetings we have, speaking as a member of the program team, has always been really, really energizing. They give us a really clear sense of purpose, and they are very uplifting, especially in some of the darker days of the National Household Survey, where working with data was not fun. The annual meeting was always a highlight, but having this format this year, we're hoping will take us one step closer to being really in person. So again, the goal of this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon is to spend most of our time in small groups, virtually face-to-face, with lightly structured discussions, and as Mary said, are meant to inform our strategic planning for the next few years. But let me just go through a few highlights. I mean, everything I'm referring to here is in our annual report. The annual report is available from the email you got. It's also available if you follow that link in the chat in terms of our annual meeting. We haven't yet posted it as one of our series of annual reports. We'll do that after the meeting. Yeah, so anything I'm saying here is put out in detail in the annual meeting. So I'm not going to go through each of these. In fact, Mike Toy has already talked about the first full year with SEDNet, but I will speak to a few highlights of the highlights. One of them is what's emerged into a regular set of pretty meaningful conversations with Statistics Canada, where we are moving beyond just purchasers of data into building more of a partnership with that organization. Data is at the center of it, but exploring areas for collaboration around training, troubleshooting wherever possible, where the flow of data isn't as efficient, looking at new directions for data, understanding, for example, what does the federal budget announcement around the disaggregated data fund for Statistics Canada mean for the program? The answer was they don't know yet, but we'll know within a couple of months. So that's obviously the single most important relationship external to the program is Statistics Canada. So we're really excited about being able to meet with a group of them on a regular basis. We also, as you know, have been developing a tool to reach broader beyond the traditional community data consortium, particularly in communities that are smaller, where it's unlikely there would ever be the capacity to launch a local data consortium. So the relationship we have with the Canada-wide network of local immigration partnerships, or LIPs, is a good example of how we're able to reach into smaller communities through a form of membership that satisfies our needs and doesn't compromise and undermine the integrity of the community data consortium model. So working with LIPs has been going on now for close to 4 years, and we're looking forward to a renewed relationship with them. So that's a couple of highlights from our program leadership. Mike is going to talk a little more about data acquisition at a couple of points during this afternoon and next afternoon. But I will point to one new arrangement we put in place with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, which is a bilateral, essentially data bartering agreement. They're quite excited about some of the products we acquire, notwithstanding the fact that they could go ahead and get them directly themselves anywhere they want. But we're very interested in some of the data that they produce, particularly through their surveys, and in particular, how we could customize some of their data products to better suit our members' needs. So that agreement with CMHC was signed in the last few months, and we look forward to implementing it with some new housing-related data. Training and capacity building. Obviously, Tableau has become front and center as a tool to reach. Initially, it was designed to reach organizations with what we describe politely as more modest capacity. But in fact, we find that it's helpful putting complex multidimensional tables into a Tableau format for some of our power users. It just saves a lot of time. Instead of going through half a dozen IVT tables and doing your extractions, working through the community recovery dashboard, for example, just saves a lot of time. It's all in one place, and you can jump right into some of the analysis you want to do. So we intend to continue implementing a data visualization product as a member service. And you can let your members know, we love questions about how can I get a data product put into a Tableau visualization. We're looking for requests like that, and we want to build up a library of infographics and dashboards and Tableau-based tools. And again, Jamie will speak later on this afternoon, I think, on, or maybe it's tomorrow, on the recovery dashboard itself and where we're at with we're on to version 2.0 now. Around networking and communication, we are going to be conducting a survey, not just of, well, we did conduct a survey of leads. I guess this is looking back now. And that's a precursor to what we're going to be doing next year or this coming year. But we also entered into an agreement with, again, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation on a solutions lab. And a number of you are participating in it. And the solution that we're trying to come up with is to a problem that is well established in our program, which is how do you overcome the obstacles facing practitioners working at a local level to bringing evidence into their work. In this case, it's more of a housing lens on it, but it's the same challenge we've been grappling with and will continue to for years, which is people working at a local level face not just budgetary constraints and technical constraints and lack of data, but there's a wide array of challenges to simply fulfilling your mandate of bringing evidence into your work. So the Housing Solutions Lab is meant to answer those questions with a particular focus on housing. And we are identifying a number of directions we can go with acquiring data that is particular to housing, but I think will be of interest to all members. And then program administration, one you highlight, we are in the midst of revisiting our website. We work with Drupal, as you know. It has to be updated from time to time. So we're building up to another major update of Drupal where we'll reconsider how the website is designed. And that'll be coming up over the next 12 months. So those are some of the highlights from 2021. There was obviously a lot of others. I didn't even touch on all the data we acquired. That's at the core of the program. But again, all of this, I would encourage you to go through the annual report. So those are some highlights from 2021. And Mike was going to provide some highlights on how data got used this year.
Yeah, I think are we gonna switch to the next slide? So every meeting we show tables like this, and this one is particularly interesting just because it's changed a little bit. Often this table looks the same at most of these meetings. The target group profiles, the postal code conversion file, Canadian business counts, those products are top downloads, and they still are. You see them there, but you can see up at the top there we have the labor force survey, supplemental tables, the community recovery dashboard. Down a little further, the longitudinal immigration database. So it's interesting in how it would have changed from previous years. The labor force survey supplementary data tables, these are tables that we're getting free from Statistics Canada, and this was provided in response to our request. I'm sure among, one voice among many other municipal practitioners, but asking to get more timely data at a local level to see the impact of this pandemic, and particularly the shutdowns. So I feel that this reflects in some respect success of the program, that we were able to get this data. It is coming now regularly, and it's getting used. This is something that clearly you have a use for, as it's our top download this year. Community recovery dashboard, this is our attempt. You all should be familiar with this product, and it's great to see that it's getting so much use. So this encourages us to continue with our efforts in Tableau. Again, I think it's been highlighted, but Jamie really should be acknowledged for the great work that he's done in putting that together. And looking down the list, the longitudinal immigration database tables, this is a result of our partnership with the local immigration partnership network, and it's pleased to see these tables getting used. This is something that we had talked about before. If we could be getting data tables like this at a level below the province. I remember Natalie Hugh was particularly pushing to say that this was possible, and indeed it was. And it's great to see that this is a very rich data set, and it's excellent to see that it's getting used. And then a little further down, the employment insurance beneficiaries monthly. is again another example of timely data coming in response to the pandemic to be able to see what the impacts are. So do you want to go to the next slide? And we like to show slides like this just to see who's using the data. Northern Policy Institute, I see Raven is here with us. You guys are really making the most of the catalog. City of Toronto, Social Planning Council of Ottawa, you can see just the extent to which some organizations are getting to, oh, we're in there. We, you know, maybe it's not fair to have us in there as well. Canadian Community Economic Development Network. I didn't prepare it yet, but you know, I wasn't going to show individual users. I feel like maybe some people might want to know that. And this is one I wouldn't show individual users for, but I thought would be interesting, and I can prepare for tomorrow. Who downloads on the weekend? Sometimes I get a stream coming in showing me when orders are coming in, and I do have a look sometimes. Just there's for various reasons. I'm not spying on you, but I do see notifications come in on the weekend, and I'm sometimes curious to know who's working on the weekend. And I have a theory about what types of organizations are working on the weekend. I know it, but we can test and see. I believe, and I'll check it if you're interested, and I won't name names, that it's social planning councils. Social planning councils work on the weekend. You guys, you're all hardworking, but that's something that I've noticed. And that's pretty much all I have. Again, a lot of the more detailed information is available in the annual report. I don't think that there's another. Is there another slide after this? No. So I don't think it's me.
Thinking ahead now. So these are some priorities we've identified for the current year, which began a few weeks ago. And the first priority that's top of mind is that we are coming to the end of our 5-year cycle. For those of you new to us, we operate in 5-year cycles, reflected in part in the agreements we have with each lead organization. But that 5-year cycle also is meant to mirror the census 5-year cycle. So data moves slowly, and we really think in terms of these 5-year cycles. So we're now at the tail end of the freshness of census data, as you are all painfully aware. And we're preparing for our next 5-year strategic plan, which will begin April 1st, 2022. So roughly just under a year from now. So a lot of the efforts over the next few months, including this meeting, will be around us thinking and listening about what do we need to do differently over the next few years? What do we need to do more of? What should we be doing less of? And what do we need to do differently? And part of the leadership too is to continue to develop partnerships. I mentioned the one with Statistics Canada and the LIPS and CMHC. We also have an emerging partnership with the Canadian Urban Sustainability Practitioners Network, CUSP, which is focused on the topic of energy, and energy and environment may be one of these priorities over the next 5 years that we need to pay more attention to and figure out how, from a data point of view, we can actually begin to measure changes in, for example, impact of climate action and climate change, including, as always, an equity lens on those impacts. So that's top of mind. Data acquisition, I mean, it's business as usual in the long-term sense of things. I mean, we're now beginning to prepare for 2021 census. That takes a lot of effort, a lot of mobilization of ideas, and it's always a balance of maintaining continuity with tables that have been purchased over the last few census cycles, but looking ahead to new possibilities. And like many of you, I just filled out my short form, noted the new question on gender. So that will inform a lot of possibilities for cross tabulations. Very, very exciting stuff. We've also been looking at how you model data, and we're learning that this is not a perfect solution. It will advance us in many cases. Mike's going to speak to modeling a little later. So there are definitely some opportunities around modeling and definitely some big limitations around modeling, but that's true with any data source. I mean, every data source has its bugs and warts if you dig deeply enough and read the footnotes, which a lot of us do. Training and capacity building, the Solutions Lab will continue right through to the end of this program year. And that process ends with a roadmap. Both CMHC and our team want a roadmap out of this. This is not just a matter of listening to great ideas and then going home and moving on to the next project. We really want to take some of the best of those ideas that are most workable and figure out how we can implement them. And again, much of our focus over the next year will be to continue to reach our modest capacity users while continuing to work with the core of our membership, which is the power data users, the high capacity users. So that's around training and capacity building. Networking, we actually can see us using Zoom, and this was mentioned already. This is our first time using Zoom in this sort of a meeting. We've relied on our loving Adobe Connect tool for many years, but we do see the advantages of Zoom, and I can see us using this in the fall meeting, which has historically been more of a teleconference, but maybe evolving into face-to-face and then fall Zoom, which is a little, again, one step removed from face-to-face. And a survey this year that will focus on the strategic plan. So very much informed by what do we do more of, what do we do less of, what do we do differently. Program administration, top of mind is that 23 of our agreements are up for renewal. And we are looking forward to working with you, getting you some new agreements, not going to be radically different from the previous agreements. The biggest difference is the header and the footer now will reflect SEDNet. And the terms and conditions are largely unchanged. The membership fee structure is going to be the same. But one change administratively is we are planning to move to calendar year budgeting. So December 31st, 2022 would be the final, would be the end of a program year, and we would actually begin a program year January 1st, 2023. So that's something actually for all of you to consider. We'll talk about it more in the fall, but we do want to get some feedback if that poses any problem. And I mentioned website renewal already. That is something we're going to start implementing in full over the beginning of this program year. So those are some of the highlights of where we're going over the next program year. And again, the big one is looking at a 5-year strategic plan that would begin in 2022 and take us out to 2027, and who knows where we'll all be then. So again, anytime any of you have any thoughts or questions, put them in the chat. We will have a few breaks for some Q&A. But again, the objective here is we're about to get into our first small breakout groups.
Yeah, and we're going to move straight into it. So our first discussion is looking at filling data gaps. We're going to hear from, I think it's Mike first. Yeah, and then Mike's going to pass it over to Jasmine, and then we're going to break out into our breakout groups. And we'll just remind you of a little bit of what we're going to do with the breakout groups before we enter them, but we're going to try to get in, move fairly quickly through everybody. So go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Mary. You could actually just switch to the next slide. Thanks. So, I saw the name of this presentation was Success with Data Modeling, and we've had limited success because we've really only worked on one variable, and that's what you see in front of you, mean liquid assets of economic families and persons not in economic families. And we had this done, we had Statistics Canada do this for us at the Census Division level. This came out as a obvious choice for data modeling. One, because it seems quite feasible to model it. It seems highly correlated with a number of variables to which we have access. And it was filling a data gap. For those of you who may remember, we worked on a project called the Neighborhood Financial Health Index, which was a composite index meant to describe financial health and financial vulnerability at the neighborhood level. It was an index comprised of 6 indicators, all of which we would have access to. We got the data originally from Embryonics Analytics, but we could get comparable data from the program, except for liquid assets. So the top half of the slide here gives a bit of an indication of what the results were from that modeling exercise. You see a little bit of a histogram showing what the values look like for mean liquid assets at the census division level. A lot of it is, a lot of the values are somewhere in the $70,000 to $120,000 range, and the data come with a data quality indicator. It's the standard error. And if you divide that by the estimate that you get the coefficient of variation. Coefficient of variation being, I apologize to get too much into the details of this, but it does speak to what we can and can't do with the data. So Statistics Canada uses the coefficient of variation as their indicator to decide whether something should or shouldn't be published. Below a coefficient variation of 16%, it's fine. Between 16 and 33%, you should be using it with caution. Above 33%, you shouldn't be using it. So the results from the data modeling at the census division level were quite good, in fact, and they noted that this was an improvement over the coefficient variation showed improvements over what was available from the source survey, the survey of financial security, that the final results did even better than that as it relates to coefficient of variation. So we tried at the census subdivision level, and you can see what you get as far as results in the histogram. Note that it's a different scale at the bottom there, but with much different results with the coefficient variation. And so there's really only, out of the just under 4,900 census subdivisions in Canada that could be modeled, there was 463 with a coefficient variation under 33% and 65 with a coefficient variation under 16. And I'm still actually looking for some guidance from Statistics Canada. We just got the census subdivision data not that long ago. And so the subject matter division is going to be getting back to me on really how we should be interpreting these data. One analyst wrote, as part of an answer to this, that they're not a big fan of suppression. It may be possible to do something with the data with coefficients of variation above 33%, but we have to keep in mind where these data are coming from. These are modeled. They have assumptions associated with them. It's not a sample survey, but clearly the data quality at the census subdivision level is not nearly as good as what you have at a higher level of geography. It's also worth noting that the data quality did not necessarily correlate with the size of a community. So Toronto with the largest population had a CV somewhere, I think around 20%. It was in the use with caution range if we follow those guidelines. And again, Statistics Canada is going to get back to me as to whether we should be using those same guidelines. Sorry, I'm kind of going off into the details. This is why they told me I was only allowed to have one slide. So I should probably wrap this up. But this is meant to give a bit of an overview of what we've done so far with data modeling. And if we're going to be talking about filling data gaps in the breakout discussions, that this should inform it. We've looked into the idea of what data gaps have been identified. Labor force survey is a big one that everyone loved to have at a more local level of geography. The idea of just looking at population estimates, intercensal population estimates at the census tract level, because what we have access to is not necessarily that, has certain problems with it. There's other possibilities, but one, we have to have data that it correlates with. That's the main one. Maybe I should cut this short. Again, they're only allowing me one slide, so I should take my cue from that. But I'll pass it over to Jasmine, who can speak more about what what we might want to do with data modeling. But just to keep this in mind as to what the limits are and where we might want to go with this. So I'll pass it to Jasmine. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, Mike. Thanks very much. Can you hear me okay? I'm using earphones today and I'm just not sure how the mic's working. Look, I'm seeing some nods. Okay. My name is Jasmine A, and I'm a research social planner with the City of Calgary and the lead of the Calgary Data Consortium. And I've been part of the community data program and leading that Calgary Data Consortium for a few years now. And I'm keenly interested in sort of these local priorities and sort of bridging the gap between Statistics Canada and the way that they think about data and geography and the way that we think about it locally. So I don't know if I have any solutions to present, but I think what I just want to say is that I feel like we should be inspired to bring new problems and new questions to Statistics Canada. So, for example, we had been ordering target group profiles for years and years from Statistics Canada, and they just said to us, it's not really possible to know the household level information. A target group profile is about people who fit the target group, and so we'll give you all the individual level information, and the household level stuff isn't available. So we would have information about, for example, people who are visible minorities or immigrants or seniors, but we would only have that information about them personally. We wouldn't know what kind of housing they were living in, what their household incomes were, that kind of thing. And so in the program in the last few years, we have pushed them to say, you know, if we come up with a definition of what a senior household or a visible minority household or so on means, can you please give us the rest of the census profile for these target groups? And we were finally able to get that done in the last little while. And I noticed, Mike, that on the slide of the top downloads, some of those household target group profiles made the list. And I think that's a real testament to the fact that it is really useful to know this household level information when we didn't have it before. Other stuff that I've been thinking about in terms of the potential of this data where we're not really making full use of it is getting smaller level population estimates every single year from Statistics Canada. So right now we get at the municipal level or at the provincial level, we get population estimates from StatCan each year, not just once every 5 years with the federal census, but every single year. And that data is really useful, but we also have a need, at least in my community, of understanding where population growth is occurring in our city, rather than just knowing our city has grown by this much. And so to me, it seems like it might be possible for them to do estimations for perhaps, as Mike was saying, census tracts. Since census tracts have a minimum population, in that range, they have a population in a range of about 5,000 people, which is bigger than many municipalities. Yeah, and it would give bigger communities like my own the opportunity to say, is population growth occurring more in our south or our north? Is it occurring more in our new communities, or are we seeing more growth in our areas that were already developed? And I think that kind of stuff is really useful for us to be able to drive policy and to really think about the application of this information on the ground. Another area that we've been having conversations with, like I've been having conversations with the CDP team about, is can we think about filling in some gaps that maybe have been left by Statistics Canada in the standard tables that they publish. One of the examples that we were looking at was the tables that cover the topic of visible minority. Visible minority we use, in my community at least, to kind of be a proxy for race or for people who experience racism. And there's been a lot of conversations recently about racism, but we don't have a lot of data available in comparison to some of the other topics covered on the federal census. I had a look in the StatCan website, and there's only 10 or 15 tables that even have a variable that covers visible minority published there, whereas there are hundreds of tables about other topics in some cases. And so I think there might be an opportunity for us to leverage the program to push Statistics Canada by paying them to do so, to produce more tables that maybe meet some of those local questions that we have. Like certainly for us, we're asking questions about, are there different outcomes for people based on whether they're a visible minority or not? And I think there's a lot of opportunity here for us to shed some light on equity issues and shed some light on some of the things that we just haven't talked about so much in the past. So yeah, I think that might be kind of all I need to say right now. I'm really looking forward to this discussion about filling in the data gaps and really making the data that we purchase work the best possible for us. And I think every year we have to make I sit on the data purchase and access working group, and every year we have to make some decisions about where to allocate our budget and what to prioritize. And I think those priorities should really be the things that we need the most to make those decisions and to really fill in the gaps that Statistics Canada hasn't been motivated to or hasn't been able to provide data for in the past. And maybe it'll be fancy modeling, or maybe it's just asking them, can you put this and this in a table together, or can you give it to us in a smaller geography? Yeah, thanks very much. Looking forward to chatting with you in the discussion groups.
Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you, Mike. Hopefully that has blown everybody's minds and reminded you about the hopes and dreams you have for all the data that you work with. So we are going to break into our groups, into our breakout groups. So these are the two questions. As I said, we sort of have two, the questions will always take the same formula. The first one will be, what can CDP do for you to fill gaps? And then the second question is, how do you fill gaps? So this is a question you can answer by saying, these are gaps that you have recognized. These are priority areas that you're not getting all the data you need for, maybe, or these are sort of workaround solutions maybe that you're using that you want to share with your colleagues. Again, I will remind you that you're able to share your screens. And so if you want to share documents or websites, please feel free to do so. And I'll remind you, you will have a CDP staff person in each of your breakout groups. And so this person is going to be able to hit the record button for you. They can help facilitate if need be, but I think most of you are pretty good at talking to each other. And so we are trying to stay out of your way and just give you that time. Jamie is going to be our tech man, I guess, today on the back of our breakout groups. And so he's going to set up our groups for us, and he'll be the one sending out the messages, letting us know when we are running out of time. And he's also going to send these questions out into our chat boxes. So just in case you get off topic, or if it's really dead time or whatever, you can come back to these questions. And I would really encourage everybody to begin your discussions with just introductions to each other. In whatever form you want those introductions to be, but we didn't want to spend an hour and a half talking all on this group together, so you can do it all in your breakout groups and get a lot more out of that time. So without further ado, Jamie, I'll let you set up those groups. We're at 33, so I think we're going to have 5 groups.
Yeah, I've got them all set up, so I'll go ahead and open them up for you guys.
All right, if there's any problem, click on your screen somewhere or chat or do whatever you can to reach out. Everybody's back. You can't, Jamie's done his sweep of all the rooms and kicked everybody out, and everybody is back in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. All right, well, I hope you had some great discussions. I know the room I was in, we went through a lot of different topics and ideas and issues people are having. So I imagine every group is quite different, which is great. So we are going to take a 5-minute break. This is your stretch. Maybe take your eyes off a screen for a minute or dive into your emails. Whatever you need to do for 5 minutes, go ahead and do it now. And then we're coming back. Mike has a fun quiz for you. Oh, no, I shouldn't say fun. I told Mike.
Yeah, no, but if you want to bring it up, I think the idea was that we leave it up and people can.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can work on this.
Don't click
during
again
your
because
5 minutes.
it's gonna give the answers. It's not meant to be. I don't know how accessible it is, or how interesting, but
You can give Mike your feedback. Here are some questions for you. You can think about them. We're going to leave them up on the screen for the 5-minute break. And so we're coming back at 2:45-ish. And then we're going to start our next discussion on visualization. So
you're not allowed to look up the answers.
No Googling?
Yeah, no Googling.
Right.
Well, I mean, like, we're not giving any prizes. We're not going to know. It's just you can write in the chat whether you got it or didn't.
Okay. We're relying on everybody being honorable.
Yeah, this is based on, we were inspired by the census data game / quiz. So thought we'd have a little something for you guys to look at during break. Yeah, I didn't get that far, Jeff, actually, to be honest. You can just let us know if you got it, or you can tell us, you can send your comments afterwards.
Post it in the chat.
You can post it in the chat, but then you're giving away the answer.
Yeah, well, you can post in the chat when we come back from the break.
Yeah. Okay.
So Mike, as a technical thing, do you think when we leave the breakout rooms, the recording automatically stops?
I'll
find out.
I don't know. Mine, I started recording. It's still recording, so I'm recording locally, but I'm fearful of stopping my local recording because I wonder if that's what shut down the recording before.
I mean, but the breakout rooms are recording still going on in empty breakout rooms, or do they, when the rooms are left?
I think this is just recording my session. So like
this is just recording this session. I'm just wondering if we'll find out after the fact.
I'm guessing that the recording that's going to be saved locally for me will be the breakout room and then this, and then we'll see what happens when it goes to another breakout room. The cloud recording, I'm assuming, is similar.
The cloud recording will appear as a file in our portal.
Oh yeah, of course. I don't. Yeah, I see your question. I don't know. I guess the answer, because I don't know whether the recording that's happening now is, I came back to this room and there is a recording going. Is it the cloud recording or?
I'm going to take my 1-minute break. I'll be back.
Yes.
I'm recording the cloud right now, so that's probably the recording you see right now.
Okay, so maybe the breakout room breakout room recording ends when you leave it.
That's what I would guess.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, have a question. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will be presenting in a minute, and I would want to share my screen, but I had issue with the internet twice. So could you guys kind of back up to prepare that link that I sent you yesterday to keep it handy?
Sure.
Yeah, if I will be interrupted again, then Anna Malenko will jump in and continue.
Okay, so one of us will have. Well, Mary, you're muted.
Hi, sorry. Yeah. Hi, Valentine. Yeah, we have the link is on the slide itself. So did you want to try to do it? And then
Yeah,
if it gets
I'll try
interrupted,
to share, but in case if my internet will disappear again, then it will take a few minutes for me to get back so Anna can jump in then.
perfect. And we'll have the slide ready to go, or the link ready to go. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Valentine.
I'm big on having lots of contingency plans.
It's necessary.
I realized that the excuses during the pandemic are quite funny because one of my children lost their homework because their cat deleted it.
That's a good one.
You know,
Yeah.
and then there was another time where the cat, because they like to walk on the keyboards, right? So one of my children was in the middle of the class, and the cat walked over and closed the classroom, so they got kicked out of their classroom,
Oh, wow.
which we all thought was quite funny, you know, after they quickly rejoined their classroom. But
My son has just been like saying, I love online learning because I can just like turn off my camera and say I was having internet connection difficulties. You know? Or he changes, he renames himself to Isaac something is loading, or like whatever that transition message is with the
Yeah.
... he'll write that and then just not turn on his camera.
So then it looks like he's just not connecting for some reason.
He's trying to load, but it's
trying.
not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying to
think
get
the
in my
host-
classroom, but it's not happening.
It was a disaster at first. Like kids were, particularly with teams, I'm amazed that there was no way to stop kids from just taking a digital crayon and just scribbling all over the screen. And it happened every time for like the first, I don't know how many times, like just like, okay, so whoever is drawing on the presentation, please stop. Like, is there really no way to stop that? I don't know.
Yeah, no, they get
Pandemic
they
excuses.
get pretty silly. Yeah.
That's why I eat so much junk food now.
Oh, that's right. It's pandemic.
This is my daughter bought this, and is it wrong for me? I'm gonna just dig into it right now. I can't go too far. I have an apple here, and this.
Yeah, so it was limited access, right?
We had a great discussion in our breakout room. It's really.
RC2, was there any issues? Did anybody have any problems in the breakout groups that we should address before the next round?
Someone was driving and didn't want to get in a car accident. That doesn't count.
It's a safety consideration for the breakout groups?
No.
Okay.
It seemed to work fine for us.
Good. Good. Whereas we have Sasha and Sadie, were they fine for you guys?
Yeah, ours went really well. No problems.
Did the messages I broadcast to you come through?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's nice. They come up, you know, they're kind of subtle, but not so much that you miss them. Yeah, works. Okay, we're almost done our few minute break here. So did anybody, Mike, I'll let you walk people through the quiz here. Let's see how people did.
Yeah, so it's meant to be just, you know, how much do you get into playing and using these data? The SGC codes, some people have their code for their community memorized, like their phone number, but maybe do you know the ones that belong to other communities? Because there's not, anyway, I don't know if you click once, I think it should give the answers one at a time. Because we don't have anyone from Prince Edward Island and the Northwest Territories. So, and again, I wrote this quiz, and I probably will still, the next time I'm doing this, we'll have to go back to remember, you know, which one is Yukon and which one is Northwest Territories. Anyway, the next one, you have to actually get in and play with the T1 family file tables, because you have, you know, you're going to want to find the right level of geography to find your data. So 11 is 61, 12 is Canada. I know that one. And then probably what I could have thrown in there is what is 91, because that's our special custom orders, and that's census subdivision. That's not in, you wouldn't have been able to find that online, or maybe you would have. Anyway, 90. Low income lines, you know, market basket measure and LICO, it depends on the size of the community and specifically for market basket measure where you're located, but low income thresholds, those are the same no matter where you are in Canada. And then the last one, everyone should know from the 2011 debacle what these percentages are, because you want to pay close attention to them. They're the global non-response rates for all those people who weren't being, you know, forced to fill out their long form. And about 50% the data are suppressed in standard tables. But we went and we got the data. For custom orders, you can get all the responses regardless of global non-response rate. And then the next quiz, I think for tomorrow, is a little harder and kind of geekier, if you can believe it. So you
Thank you, Mike.
write in the chat whether you got it or not.
Yeah. Did anybody get any of them?
Some people probably just left and they're coming back and the answers are there. Jasmine only got 2 out of 4. What? I made them way too hard then.
Oh,
This is
you
where
might
the
need to
students-
adjust tomorrow, Mike.
Students write to the dean complaining their prof is being too hard and everybody's
11
failing.
and 61. Yeah, of course. That's and the next one, like their questions are quantitative. Like, can you guess how many of this particular cross tabulation there are in Canada? No one's going to know this. There's no way you're supposed to know this. You should not know this, but take a guess and we'll see who gets the closest. But you also have to know what particular CDP table allows that cross tabulation. And again, you probably shouldn't know that either, but maybe you do.
We'll find out tomorrow on the next edition of CDP Data Quiz with Mike. Too bad he can't provide snacks for everybody.
You don't want the crap that I have.
All right, hopefully everybody has found their way back to their Zoom screen and their Zoom room. We are going to jump into the next big discussion of today. So we're sort of halfway done. We are going to keep you till 4 o'clock today. So we're going to talk about data visualization. Much like our last discussion, we have 2 presenters for you. Jamie, I believe, is going first. I'm going to show you a little bit of the Community Recovery Board, and then Valentine is going to show you some of their data visualizations. Barring no internet problems. If we have some jumping around, please bear with us. We have lots of contingency plans to get us through. And then once we're done, we will jump quite quickly into the breakout groups, unless you have questions. So please feel free to type those questions in the chat box or just put your mic on and go ahead and ask out loud. But if there's none, we'll just move quite quickly into the breakout groups. I don't think there was any problems for the last one. You'll be in hopefully a different group. So again, introduce yourselves and then get right into it, and remember to share your screens if you so choose. So Jamie is going to share his screen. So I think we're just going to switch over, right, Jamie?
Yep, I've got some slides that I'm going to share.
Okay, you go ahead when you're ready. Okay, so Jamie.
Can you see that?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. Great. Well, hi, everybody. So I'm going to give a little update on what the CDP has been doing with Tableau over the last program year. So throughout the last program year at the CDP, we started using Tableau with the intention of creating new interactive dashboards and infographics for our users that present our data in a different and engaging way and make it more accessible to users of varying data capacity levels, especially those who don't have the technical knowledge to use the raw data products that make up a lot of our catalog. So the catalog now contains a range of Tableau dashboards that are available to all CDP users under the Data Analysis and Visualization Tools product group. And you can also find them through our Tableau Infographics and Dashboards portal under the Portals drop-down menu. And these dashboards only require that you have the free Tableau Reader software installed on your computer to use them. So the dashboards that are now available include a series of profile dashboards, each one covering a different theme, such as income and employment. You can see them listed there on the slide. And our community recovery dashboard, which is a larger ongoing project you've probably heard about now. It's focused on recovery from the health and economic impacts of the pandemic for communities across Canada. So to give you a little more detail on the profile dashboards, they use charts and interactive maps and lists to present data from the 2016 census in a way that's easy to use and understand. And they provide tools for viewing detailed profiles of communities and regions across Canada and for comparing data between communities. And each of these dashboards contains census data relating to a different theme and at 6 different levels of geography, and they cover all of Canada. So in February, we released version 2.0 of the Community Recovery Dashboard, which included a substantial number of changes and additions from version 1, which released back in the fall. And many of the changes were based on feedback from users. So I'm just going to go through the updates to the version 2.0. So when you open the dashboard now, it brings you to a new welcome page that provides some information on its contents and has buttons to access the different sections of the dashboard. And this welcome page is part of a set of kind of general layout improvements I've made throughout the dashboard to give it a more readable and consistent presentation and easier navigation. So now, in addition to the census tract geographies that the dashboard previously included, it now includes a census subdivision and other geographies section. And this lets you view profiles for all the indicators in the dashboard at 6 different levels of geography that were not previously included. So that's for provinces, CMAs, CAs, census divisions, and subdivisions. Each page of the dashboard now includes some explanatory text with context, definitions, and instructions for the data and charts on the pages. And now the data in all maps and bubble charts of the dashboard are now viewable as percentages as well as counts. And all the tabs in the census tract section now contain bubble charts. Both of these things improving the functionality for comparing census tracts in the dashboard. And the dashboard includes several demographic group options throughout that can be cross-tabbed against many of the indicators in the dashboard. And so we've now added sex and youth demographic group category options for each of these for all the places where these options are available. So those are all the changes in version 2, but work is underway now on version 3.0 of the dashboard, which will likely be mostly focused on adding new indicators such as working at home potential by occupation and employment time series data. And beyond version 3.0, our plan is to eventually include data from the 2021 census when it becomes available, to offer a picture of the same data, but from a point in time well into the pandemic and a point of comparison with the pre-pandemic numbers that are currently included. And so we're always looking for feedback on the dashboard and happy to answer any questions that you or your consortium users have about it. So feel free to email us any questions or feedback you have, or more generally, just any questions you have about using CDP data in Tableau. And additionally, if anyone here has made use of the community recovery dashboard or knows someone who has and would like to share their feedback or have their questions answered, let us know, because we're thinking that we could set up a meeting in the future with these users where we can go more into depth about the dashboard and answer questions and discuss any feedback or methodology. So if you're interested or know someone who would be interested, you can let me know right now in the chat or send me an email afterwards, and we can set that up. So thanks for listening. I hope you give our Tableau dashboards a try, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you, Jamie. All right, we already have Jasmine interested. It would be great to have 2 more people who've had a chance to look at their community recovery dashboard that would be interested in it would just be a very small group that we can have. It would probably be Jamie and myself, and just get into the dashboard a little bit more, particularly from your feedback on using it. And this will really help with any forward plans for it, as well as any modifications we can make to the current versions. And then, so either if you would like to be part of it, you can put your name in, or if you have somebody on your team in your consortium who you would like to recommend, you can also put your name in there, and we'll make sure to follow up with you. So think about that, but it would be great to have 3 names before we leave our session today. And so now we are going to pass it over to Valentine from York Region. And we're going to attempt and see how it works today. Valentine, do you want to try to share your screen?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Valentin, and I represent York Region here. I'm not alone here. There is also Anna Malenko from York Region here. We are both part of a data services team from Community and Health Services Department in York Region. We're the largest department. So naturally, all the socioeconomic data requests come in our way. We handle most of them, and we kind of consider subject matter experts in a income area, specifically low income. So all low income requests usually come in our way from the entire York region, not only from our department, but so we deal in like with all, we help in like social services, housing, public health, childcare services, seniors, paramedics, also having requests from working with our long range planning, sometimes with transportation, with other departments in our region. Historically, York region was using census for low income analysis prior to 2011. And in 2011, when we realized that low income data from NHS is not good enough, we switched to the text file data. And you can find some of our first reports on low income actually on the CDP website. This is our first report on low income trend in York region when we went like 10 years back when we switched to text file data. And we produced few more PDF reports, but now we are in 2021, and it looks like nobody interested anymore in PDF reports. Not everyone wants something more interactive. So 2 years ago, we produced our first low income dashboard. And this is already kind of a newer, updated version. We made this one last year. And for our low income dashboard, we use Power BI. Basically, when we were thinking about this dashboard, it's based on those type of requests that we receive most often. So we decided to put here just minimum information, just that type of information that most often is requested by our clients. And this is this dashboard is for the internal use only so far. So this is the first page. This is how it looks like. So in the middle, we put some very brief description of low income measure, how it measures, where data coming from. And you can see on the left side, there is like a threshold, because like there are so many requests, people trying to determine the eligibility of their clients for various programs. So this is one of the, I would say, #1 requests we're receiving, like what is their thresholds for based on the size of the family. On the other side, there is a coverage by age, because we still very often having like a questions like, okay, so tax file data is good, it's annual, but there are many clients that don't file taxes. So if they don't file taxes, how we can trust the tax file data that it's good enough? So we kind of put this coverage by age here, kind of trying to answer those questions. And this is all coming from the technical documentation of that come in with tax file data. So here going, like the next page is, this is our like very basic visualization. In the middle, we put the filter, all our York region local municipalities in York region. Here we have 10 years of tax file data. All this data is downloaded from the CDP data catalog. So here we have like low income trend, 10 years, number of residents in low income, and low income rate. Below we have the cumulative growth rate, because very often we have questions like how fast low income population growing, is it keeping pace with the total population or not? So this slide kind of shows that type of analysis. And on the other side, it's very quick breakdown by the age. Unfortunately, we all know that tax file data has only 3 major age brackets: under 17, then working age 17, 65, and senior 65 over, and family composition, meaning couple families, lone parent families, and non-family persons. And as I mentioned, the basic filtering here, so people can choose. It takes time, sorry. Different geography, and they can see all the numbers that apply to that geography. Naturally, in York region, we see actually the highest growth of low income in those municipalities that has the highest housing development, the new housing built. That's where we see the highest growth of low income population these days, even such a wealthy municipalities as King is Gwillimbury. So the next page is same, but comparison of York region and the GTA municipalities, because very often people want to know how we compare, how York region is compared with the rest of the GTA or province or Canada. So basically we have identical page, but just different level of geography. So you can choose York region, you can go to Toronto, which all we know that have low income numbers is starting to decline there. We have province. So this is all like self-served interactive tool for York region employees. All this visualization is good, but it's always, how do we find balance between visualization and actually the analytical report? We tell you like, okay, why this low income number is going up or down. And the simple dashboard, and I believe any dashboard cannot answer many of those questions. And very often our like a policy people or program managers, they want something quickly that they can just, if they communicate with the province or working on the budget or some policy, they want to quickly grab something that they can use for their reporting. So we put like this kind of a last page where we have like very high level key findings, so they can just grab this information and use in their reporting. So even though like everyone likes visualization these days, we still cannot go without like a simple Word or PDF document. So this is kind of how we were trying to find kind of a balance. So I think this is it. This is our very simple the dashboard on low income trends in York region. Our next step is, so far it's for the internal use only, but we already kind of figure out how we can post it on the Power BI server externally and share with external clients. And we're now working with our communication to see if we can post it on the york.ca so everyone could access. It's a bit more complicated than we thought, but this is our step for this year, because this year we are planning to update this dashboard with new 2019 text file data that will come somewhere by the end of the summer, and we also want to redesign it to more like use, because now in your region we have the templates for all dashboards that goes externally. So we're going to redesign it a bit, and this will be our plan for later for this year. That's all. But
Okay, there any questions for Valentin? Any clarification questions? You will have this link. It's in the slides for the meeting, and it will be on the website with all the documents and stuff. So you'll be able to go back and you'll be able to follow up with Valentin, which I encourage you to do if you want to try to reproduce anything. And he's helped us with a number of things already, so I know he is ready to help anybody and support anybody who wants to keep going. Okay, so there's a few comments for you, Valentin. So we are going to get into our breakout groups. I'm going to quickly share my screen back up again. Sorry, give me a second. So there, that blue hyperlink is will bring you to the dashboard. So we're going to go back into our breakout groups. Hopefully you'll be with a different mix of people. I remember to start with introducing yourselves, maybe talk about if you do anything to visualize data, if there's a product you use, if you have any role in it, if you rely on a partner, something to do with, or your favorite visualization of data, maybe. And then take the discussion where you want to go. Again, I encourage you to share your screens, especially for this conversation, because I think it's nice to sort of have a peek about what each other is doing. And for this discussion, we are going to end at 3:45. So you have approximately 30 minutes for this discussion. And Jamie will send out those notices again. And then we will come back together. And then you don't get a break. You're going to come back and we will wrap up quickly together for the end of the day. So Jamie, go ahead and put us into our breakout groups.
All right, here we go.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'll give us a few minutes. Hopefully you had a great chat about data visualization. Any problems, facilitators? Everything went fine?
I noted that this is the first time in memorable history where we haven't had all sorts of audio issues to grace our time.
Why did you
I
say
wonder.
that out loud?
I
Why would
wonder.
You don't say that out loud. It's jinxing.
Don't want to make everybody panic here.
Just a nod to Adobe Connect.
So you'll notice, everybody, that we are not going to be reporting back from our breakout groups. We have them recorded and we will be bringing notes and things out of them. And so those will get to you, but we didn't want to use your time online to slowly go through all the amazing things that you all discussed. My group certainly has a couple of follow-up questions that they will be following up with each other on. So I think they will be looking forward to those discussions as well outside of CDP. So we're just going to take a few minutes to close off our day, and then you'll be free to go at 4 o'clock. So for those of you who were here for our whole session, we went through those program highlights as well as the outlooks for our following year, including getting ready for our developing the next strategic plan. And we had our 2 big discussions on filling data gaps and data visualization. So both of these things will be a big part of what's going into that strategic plan. You know, they were great conversations that I was part of. And I think I'm very thankful for our Zoom tool that worked today, that we were able to do that so fluidly. If anybody wants to share any comments at this point on the day, they're welcome to. Any CDP people or anybody out there in Zoom land?
We definitely got some homework. And I mean, for me, one of the themes was engaging with Statistics Canada and continuing to push on a few fronts. I mean, what we just talked about now, for example, which had been talked about in the earlier conversation, was cleaner data, and particularly around things like the geography. We struggle with that too. It's just all sorts of variations on how a census subdivision is presented in one field or multiple fields. Just makes it. We spend a lot of time we could be spending better elsewhere on cleaning data we get from Statistics Canada.
This did not come out of the discussion. I'll make it really quick, but just because we've changed the format of the meetings where typically we'd be presenting on our various working groups, I would just do this. I take this opportunity every year to thank the Data Purchase and Access Working Group and to make it clear that the value that the group brings to the program and to all the other members is enormous. So it's very much appreciated. The expertise and the knowledge that goes into it adds real value to the program. So thank you very much.
I'll follow that by, am I still on? Yeah. I'll follow that by thanking the Training and Capacity Working Group this year, who normally we ask to meet. I think we're down to 3 times a year we're supposed to meet to cover CDP business, and they're always really great about making sure we cover good topics in our webinars and develop appropriate tools. They're great at trying things out and bringing feedback. But this year we threw them for a loop and we brought them into the Solutions Lab, and they're doing many more hours of work and being engaged at, I mean, they were already engaged group of people, but really bringing their A game to that Solutions Lab, and that's going to continue to be work for them for another year. So thank you for everybody who has served in that working group this year. And well, thank you for your continued work. And I'll plug for both working groups. If you're not currently in a working group, it's actually a really great way to be involved in the direction and what CDP provides. And so if you are interested, you're always welcome to join one of the working groups or both of the working groups. And you can be, just come to the meetings and listen. You can just get the emails. or you can become a full-fledged, really enjoy the working groups and geek out with us on data and training.
Kate, I'm interested in your comment, because that sounds very interesting. An accountability group to get your consortium.
Okay, this is embarrassing, because I've said in every single breakout session, I've been very honest that this is, I think, my third or fourth annual general meeting where I've said this is going to be the year that we're going to get up and running. And you guys have given excellent tools and an excellent overview of the data that's available. But frankly, like, I need to know how to get people in the room. Like, I'm just going to send out a Zoom link and say, hello, certain partners who are interested in this common feature of living in Red Deer. What can we do? What do we need to do? And so I guess, like, I'm lacking the bravery at times. And so I do wonder if there's someone in my situation or a few people where we could just meet very informally but regularly and talk about how it's going. And I know for myself, this work kind of gets pushed off a lot because it's not on council's lips. This is not something that administration at the City of Red Deer is passionate about, but something I am passionate about, but would love to work with this process with other people.
Absolutely.
Kate, I love that comment, because my favorite session we do, and we didn't do it last year because we were adapting to online, but we're going to do it tomorrow. The last session is how to run your consortium. And I think that is an excellent thing to bring up and see how do we provide more support for people. And accountability is a great way of terming that. So I'm putting that on the, I'm doing a little presentation before that. I'm putting that on.
So yeah, we just have a few minutes, but we can definitely talk more about this tomorrow. But there's all kinds of ways that we can do that through, we've had webinars on the topic, groups like this, but maybe we do need a group that would be able to meet.
And then just to make you feel better, we do have at least one consortium made up of one organization that has been operating as a single organization consortium for years, which defies the definition of consortium. But the purpose, of course, of the consortium is not just to share in costs. It really is to bring a multiplicity of sectors to the table, all of whom share a need for evidence, and then looking at the complementarity of your work and how there's synergies, and really of a community development tool. That is the idea of the consortium. So yeah, we feel for you. But yeah, tomorrow
I will own this. I am a consortium of one and have been since we first signed the papers. So now I'm bringing accountability to the larger group. If I'm still a consortium of one next year, I need to rethink my strategy.
We can stop calling it a consortium. We'll call it something else.
All right, I think that's great. And maybe this is a good time for me to just let you know our big topics for tomorrow. It'll be the same sort of agenda tomorrow, same style of day with the breakout groups. First session is talking about the census. I thought we had a couple presenters from StatsCan. I think we're going to have like 5 or 6 people from StatsCan who are excited to come. And I think this is really representative of our current relationship with StatsCan. So this is great. And they're actually going to join our breakout groups. They're really interested to hear from people who are using the data and looking forward to using the data. So that'll be our first session. And then our second session will be how to run/start/help Kate run a consortium. So that will be, I'm really looking forward to, I always think that's a really valuable session every year. And I think it's very helpful for everybody going forward. And it's a good one to have when we can be in small groups. So that's a plan for tomorrow. Is there anything anybody else wants to try to get on our agenda for tomorrow that I can try to squeeze in?
We were reminded that there is a standing offer to go to Halifax a year from now.
Yay.
We should keep that on the agenda.
Let's hope.
We will have waited for 2 years.
Mhm. We'll be all eager to see people in person. Okay, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you, everybody. I think this is a really productive use of time. And I really enjoyed hearing everybody's thoughts and ideas. And we will see most of you. I know not all of you can make it tomorrow, but hopefully we'll see most of you or a colleague of yours tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time again. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
See you tomorrow.
everyone.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, everyone.
CDP people, do you want to just stay for a minute?
Yeah, we can debrief.
Thanks very much.
Good to see.
Kate, did you want to commiserate more? Little consortium therapy.
It's sometimes the same with Adobe Connect, where you're holding.
Somebody gets stuck.
You can't, I
Yeah,
can't.
or they were possibly never there.
Yeah, well, we know Kate was there.
You know, Kate was there, but you can sometimes just join and then go and do something else.
Yeah, Jamie, actually, if you can, you could probably release them from their misery.
All right.
Kick them out.
Yeah, I think that's the other word.
Should we stop recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. It seemed once removed, Kate will not be able to rejoin the meeting. But
Oh, like she's being blacklisted.
yeah, and there's a
No, we don't
report to Zoom.
That'd be bad. Okay. Well,
Okay.
that's
I
fine.
clicked
So-
stop recording on my screen